Hey, it's me again. So, I wanted to talk about the last day. I know I'm kind of going backwards instead of reverting forward to like the beginning of the journey, but these things are fresh in my head, so I wanted to address them first. So, the last day was a Tuesday. It was March 8th, to be exact, of 2022. I pretty much noticed that something wasn't right. You just know in your heart, you just know in your soul that something's not right. Um, but let me back up for a sec and just go back to that Saturday before. That Saturday before, he had so much energy. He was eating pizza, he was watching Eddie Murphy Raw and laughing and all this good stuff. And that was pretty much the last time he ate a full meal and took his meds completely. Uh, Now we're going to fast forward to that Tuesday I was just mentioning. That Tuesday, I woke up and I noticed his breathing wasn't good. Now, the whole time that he was on hospice, his breathing was pretty much uh, 97 steady, which is probably better than mine. It was really good. But I noticed that his breathing wasn't coming from his chest, it was coming from his stomach, and it was really fast. And that morning, he also, like, I noticed in the middle of the night he must have thrown up because he had vomit on his shirt. He had diarrhea. So I cleaned him up. I called the hospice nurse to come that day. I also called my cousin, who is also a nurse, to come over that morning. And so my cousin came over first, and he had diarrhea again. We cleaned him up really good. The hospice nurse came, but before that, and these are really important things that I'm about to say. Before the hospice nurse came, when I called her, she's like, "Oh, well, give him the oxygen because they give you these things just in case you need them." Well, my response to her was, "No. You come here and you give him oxygen." And to some people that may seem that I was being like defensive or nasty, whatever. No, absolutely not. Listen, you are the nurse, I am not. That is one of the things with hospice that needs to change. They put too much responsibility on the family that have no healthcare experience. And I talk about healthcare experience. I'm talking about, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor. What if I raise the oxygen too high? What if it's not enough? Something, God forbid, happens. You're putting these family members in a position that they should not be in. Okay? They don't need that type of guilt in the event, God forbid, happens. So, yes, I told her, you come here and you give him the oxygen. So, that's exactly what she did. So, I signed off of work that day. I work from home, by the way, which thankfully that was a blessing because I was able to, manage things. So, my cousin was here. When the nurse came, she put him on the oxygen. I asked her how much time. She claimed it would be, I don't know, a couple days to a week. So that's when I started texting everyone, telling them. My other friend, who's a nurse, she left work, she came here. So majority of the day we played music because Joe loves music. Everybody knows that, right? So we played music. He couldn't talk because I'm assuming that his, breathing had something to do with that. But he'd grab her hands, he'd smile, his leg would even go like this a little bit, trying to dance to the music, whatever. I called my cousin and asked her if she can get a priest to come here that day. And she's very, active in the church. And she advised me that he can come between 2 and 3 o'clock, which was great. So before the priest got here, we're playing, like I said, we were playing music. And I don't know, at one point I was like, we were using Alexa. Alexa, play this. Alexa, play that. So at one point,
here are some results.
Oh, see, Alexa's talking. See, I can't even say her name. Alexa, stop. So we were like, Alexa, play whatever song. And all we heard was static. Okay. Alexa, play whatever song. The second time, static. 3 times, my friend said, Alexa, play whatever song. Static. 3 times we asked her to play music, and all we heard was static. And on the 3rd time, I even remember Joe even looking at her, well, her meaning Alexa. And I said, somebody's talking to Joe. Somebody's clearly talking to Joe. It wasn't only me there were other people there. So this is a true story. So, okay. 4th time, she played music, and we were like, okay, whatever, we just, we knew that there was a lot of energy, a lot of spirits, a lot of things going on here that particular day. So, the priest comes, he says his prayers. Now, for some reason, and I mentioned this in the the first video. I said Joe would always see people toward the right of him. So when the priest came, the priest happened to be standing on the right side of him. Joe didn't want to look at him. He didn't. But the good thing is, the priest said his prayers. He did his, last rites and all that good stuff. And we prayed with him, and everything was fine. But my cousin that I had mentioned earlier that had got the priest to come, she said to me, would it be okay if I came to say the rosary after work? And I was like, absolutely, So she came, and at that point, there were other people here, friends and family. And so Sherry, which is my cousin, she came here and she said the rosary. And the way it was set up was Joe was in the middle, my cousin Michelle was here, Sherry was here, I was at the end of the bed, and everybody else was around, whoever was here. So we said the rosary. And but this time, and let me just back up for a quick second. I've been to Catholic school, born and raised Catholic. I've never felt so much energy in my whole entire life. And I mean that. I've prayed, I've been in church. I just never felt so much energy. The energy in this room was unexplainable. We're saying the rosary, and the energy just got stronger. And as the energy got stronger, the prayers got stronger. And I'm not even lying to you. Like, it just kept on and on and on and on and on. And it was just like, holy crap, the energy was super strong. I could say so much about it. You really had to be here to feel it, to experience it. But I could tell you that much. So when the rosary was over, my two cousins walked away. I walked up to Joe, to the left side of him, and I was about to give him a hug. But Joe went like this to me. He put his arm out. And I was like, okay, I didn't take offense to it. I walked away. And then soon after that, my two cousins, the ones who were by his bedside, we were saying the rosary, went back to their positions, and started singing to him. And the song they were singing, I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was basically the words that the priest was saying to him during the last rites. And hopefully I remember the name later and I can just, put it in the chat, whatever. But anyway, so they started singing. Now, both of my cousins have really, really beautiful voices. So I was like, oh, this is beautiful. So I'm going to videotape it. And I started to videotape it, and there were people behind me that were talking in the background. So I kind of just like shut that video down first. I told them to be quiet, please, so I can, videotape them singing to Joe because he looks so relaxed. And again, Joe loved music. Joe, I don't know. It was just a very peaceful moment. And so I retook the video this time. I didn't realize okay, let me just back up real quick. So remember when I was telling you we were saying the rosary, there was a lot of energy in here. Yes. So when the singing started, there was a lot of energy in here as well. The energy never went away. So as I'm recording it for the second time, I'm kind of like in the energy. I don't know how to explain it, right? So I'm videotaping how beautiful and angelic their voices actually sounded, that I didn't realize what was actually happening at the time. And nobody else did either, to be honest with you. Basically, what was happening is Joe just went home. He went home. And my cousin singing didn't realize it. Me recording it didn't realize it. The people around us didn't realize it. But my one cousin did realize, and I noticed this during the video, while they were singing, he must have stopped breathing. So she noticed that. So she was trying to get the attention to my other cousin, and my other cousin was just so, focused in on the singing and stuff that she was just in a trance. She didn't realize what was going on either. So I wound up videotaping my own husband's passing and didn't even realize it. But with that said, as upset as I was thereafter when I realized what happened, I was very grateful for the fact that he went so peacefully, because that was one of my fears of how he was going to go. So people with brain issues, you don't know what's going to happen because, between the medication, the brain trauma, the steroids, whatever, you don't even know what's going to happen. I didn't want to be the one to have to continuously give him medication to calm him down at the end of his life because he was acting so erratically, that this was such a blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise, for one, because how he went so peacefully, but for two, like, I don't know. Now I understand why he pushed his arm away, because I wasn't supposed to be there. He knew exactly what was supposed to happen. I didn't. And my cousin didn't either, because I told her, I was like, God did send you here for a reason, to bring the angels to take Joe home. And I know some of you are probably like, oh, that sounds crazy. No, it's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. It's not crazy at all. That's exactly what happened. And none of us in this room knew it. The only one that knew it was Joe. Joe knew it. That's why he went like this to my cousin's face. That's why he pushed me away. Because he knew how this was supposed to be played out. And it was like a movie. Like if you're watching a movie with somebody passing, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It wasn't rehearsed. We had no idea. We had no idea that it was going to A, happen today, and B, the way it was going to happen. And I can tell you, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, it really was. I was upset. Very upset. Because, let's face it, that's an upsetting thing to see somebody pass, right? Especially a loved one. Especially somebody that went through as much as he did. We didn't know he was going to pass that day. Everything played out the way it was supposed to play out. And the one thing that I could say is that I can only hope and wish that the majority of people can go that peaceful and that beautifully. Honestly, I'm not even lying to you. A lot of this is a scenario where you would literally have to be here to understand, or have had the same exact experience before with someone else to understand. But again, I'm going to reiterate something I said in the first video, is if you don't have faith in these things and believe in the afterworlds and all that stuff, believe me when I tell you, you will. You will. You will. I always had the faith. And when I've seen as much as I've seen with this experience, I could tell you, my faith had strengthened so much because of it. So the one thing I do want to say is, Joe went extremely peaceful, the way that he probably wanted to go, or anybody would want a loved one to go, or the way I would want him to go. Again, I was very worried about how he was going to end, how the end would be. And, I'm not going to say it wasn't upsetting. And again, I didn't know what I was even recording. It was almost like Joe was like, you know what? We recorded our whole entire journey. Let's record the end. It was kind of like, it was almost scripted, I swear. But it really wasn't. And I'm just grateful that he went peacefully. And I wanted to explain that piece to everyone. And, Joe was afraid for a long time of death. And he wasn't afraid anymore. And that's what I want to tell other people, that at the end, you're not going to be afraid. because these loved ones, these spirits that we talked about before, they're going to comfort you. They're going to bring you home to a beautiful dimension. Something that we can't even imagine with the way we think. One day we will. But I just wanted to explain how beautiful his passing was. And I can only hope, like I said before, that the majority of us can go that way. I mean, we don't know. But it really was. It was something that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. And obviously, because I have it on, I'm recording, but it stays in my head too. And forget the recordings. Things that stay in our head will always stay in our head. So, some people don't realize the blessings that they have, like my cousin. She doesn't realize what she was doing here that day, but that's a very special gift, and I can only hope that other people have the same gift. But I wanted to explain that piece, and I know, again, I'm going backwards, but things are pretty fresh in my head right now. But that's how the last day for Joe was, and I couldn't ask for a better day. I really couldn't. He didn't suffer at all. If he would have lasted a couple days after that because of his breathing, yes, he would have suffered, but no, he didn't. So, you know what? There were a lot of people looking out for him, and thankfully so, because he didn't suffer and he went so beautifully. And if you didn't see the video, I did post it in Joe's Journey, and you'll see. It may not have been the whole entire video, but there was 2 parts, like I said. I only posted one, but he did go peacefully. So that's what I wanted to say about the last day of Joe being on hospice.